Good evening. If you'll rise and join us in the pledge to the flag. I'm sorry, TJ, yes. We have a scout here this evening. I had asked him to do so. If you would mind, lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. Sorry, TJ, I appreciate that. Okay, the town manager had to run off and get some glasses. I was going to wait, but we'll put her announcements off for just a moment. Okay, which includes a highway garage update. Comments from the press and public. If you would like to address the council, you could come to this mic here or step over here. Seeing none. No resignations, or retirements. And first, under appointments, the council is to be presented with an update from the library of this past year's activities.
Amended agenda there.
All right, we're doing real well. I don't.
Lynn, I think.
Okay, I don't have that page. All right, now that it's total chaos this evening, Lynn, thank you.
Good evening. What would you like to know? The elections are going to happen. We've got all the standard people working, plenty of coverage. School is in session.
You're expecting how many?
Good question.
Thank you.
Good question. We'll have a pool that morning.
Yeah.
It's going to be,
Over 2,000, under 10?
we may be approaching 10.
10?
It's going to be higher than a typical midterm. Both parties have been out there working to get their people out to vote. It depends on who's going to make the phone calls and who's going to show up. I will tell you, the number of absentee ballots we have is way high. We may be there all night counting those. We've done that before.
Gee, thanks.
Peter.
Lynn, can you explain to the folks out there what they're going to be required to do for voter identification?
Same thing you've done every other year. When you come to the polls, I want a photo ID.
Okay.
Driver's license, passport. No, your teacher's ID doesn't count, doesn't work, even though you're working there in the school. There hasn't been any change to the voter ID requirements. If you don't have it, they're gonna come see one of you gentlemen, ladies, and they're gonna fill out a non-photo ID affidavit, have their picture taken, it's gonna be attached to it, and then they can vote. Nothing, no different.
So the reason behind the question is all the news about SB3 and the
Has
George's
nothing to do with
injunction
photo
and
ID.
Pardon?
Has nothing to do with photo ID.
What did it have to do with?
That has to do with registering to vote and domicile.
Okay, I thought it had to do with being able to show an ID and prove your
That's
residence and all that stuff.
Nope, that's, if you want to register to vote, either prior to the elections or that day, there's a new form that is filled out. If you have proof of domicile, not just citizenship, not just anything else, but if you have proof of domicile, then you fill out the standard A form, you're registered, and you go vote. If you don't have proof of domicile, there is a second form that has to be completed, and it essentially says, yeah, I live in town, but I can't prove it. I left my stuff at home, or I haven't got it yet, or whatever. It says, within 10 days, I promise to bring it down to town hall and give it to you. It's the only difference.
Okay, that was the function or factor of SB3 that was.
Yep,
all
has
the
nothing to do
behind
with
it?
photo ID or previously registered voters.
Okay, cool.
Much ado about nothing.
Well, just out of curiosity then, for those who cannot prove domicile and fill out the appropriate form and you have 10 days, is their vote counted that night?
They're a voter.
Okay.
New Hampshire does not do provisional ballots. When you come in, you either get a ballot and it's counted, or you don't get a ballot and it isn't counted. There's
So what
nothing in
happens
between.
after 10 days and someone does not come in to validate?
Oh, well,
Okay. Okay.
unless you can prove fraud, in which case the fraud statute comes into play. But if it's not fraud,
Okay.
too bad,
So it had to be brought to your attention?
Yep.
Okay.
not mine.
Whose ever attention it would
That's
be?
right.
Okay.
Peter?
Lynn, I know the hours are set 7 to 7,
Yep.
correct? 7 a.m., 7 to p.m. But as you know, I think there's going to be a heavy turnout on this, and you got a lot of motor voters coming out of work. So those folks that are hitting there, and if there's...
As long as I've got a line,
Okay,
I keep the polls open.
okay. All right,
Essentially, at 7 o'clock, I put somebody at the end of the line
yes.
so that when that person gets there, whether it's 7:30, 7:45, 7:05, doesn't matter. We have always done everything we can in this town to make sure that people get to vote.
Right.
Including walking in just after we close the polls. They get to vote. We're not going to turn them away. It's important. It's important to people.
But they need to show up. I
They
think
need
the
to show
concern
up.
is people at 7:30 decide, oh, I can't vote, I'm too late, and they don't even show up. And then they find
can't
out,
do
well, the
anything
polls were
about
open
that.
until 7:45. Well,
Well, no,
sorry.
the polls are not open till 7:45.
Well, I know,
The
but-
polls are open 7. You need to be in line at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
If you show up at 7:45, we're in the middle of counting, and no, you're not going to vote.
Well,
But if you're in line at 7 o'clock, and there's a 45-minute line because there's 600 people in line, you're going to get to vote. But you need to be in line by 7. I don't anticipate that being a problem, but, you know, as long as I've done this, we have always done everything we can to make sure people get to vote.
Which is one reason maybe why the absentee ballots are so high. Because people don't know if they can make it, which is
It
smart.
could be.
Yeah,
I think it has something to do with both parties trying to get out the vote as well,
true, yeah.
which has been going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lynn, are we set to go with traffic mitigation plan at the Merrimack Middle School in light of the fact that the kids are going to be in session?
They've been in session for every election except for one. And between the police and me and my guys, we're fine. It
Even
hasn't,
with
hasn't been any problem.
Okay, well, I mean, we're looking, and to echo what Councilor Albert said, I agree. I think there's going to be
Mhm.
more voters than what I think we've anticipated. I think this is kind of an abnormal midterm election, so I just want to make sure that,
Not more voters than we anticipated. I think we're going to have more than we have in other midterms. But we've got enough people, we've always been able to manage it.
and do we know how many ballots have been ordered for this election?
I do not.
Just to let you know, I was curious last week. I spoke to Diane Trippett, and I said, by the way, you know, it's going to be, I suspect it's going to be very high. How many have you ordered? She made it very clear. She doesn't order them. The state determines how many you get.
Right.
And I believe she said something like 14,000
Sounds about right.
she received.
Yep.
But it's interesting. They are not in charge of how
Right.
many to order. The state makes the determination.
And we've always managed. In all the time I've been doing this, which is so many years,
Wait, what was that one?
we did run out of ballots one year.
That's
yeah,
right.
we did.
Yes, we did.
And we photocopied, and we managed.
Right.
Nobody was inconvenienced, nobody was turned away, nobody got to not vote. We've always managed. The people we've got working at the polls are very, very good, and again, they have the same mentality that I do. If you're there, you get to vote. And we make it as easy as we can.
So basically, you're prepared, you have the people you need, everything's all set up as far as that staffing is concerned.
Standard crew. We bring on 1 or 2 new ones when we need them, but we've got our standard crew that know what they're doing, and even if I'm not there, they know what they're doing, so I trust them.
Okay. Okay, Peter?
One last question, and Lynn, maybe you're not aware of this, but it was publicized in the 2016 after the presidential election. Did Merrimack have any cases of voter fraud?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I think I only heard 2 on the news, and they were up north somewhere or something.
Yeah, there's been very few. Now, is there some? I doubt it. I wouldn't expect it in Merrimack. I think the places you're more likely to see it are in misunderstanding of who gets to vote. In other areas, I don't know. I honestly don't know. You want to commit voter fraud? I can tell you how to do it, but I don't think it happens. I think it's more of a, oh, I didn't realize I couldn't do this. You know, we had someone that was on the checklist, and I'm going back many years now, that came into town meeting, had moved out of town, and a few months earlier, permanently moved out of town. In fact, it was a former selectman, and came in to vote. And somebody brought it to my attention and said, he said, well, I'm on the checklist. I said, do you live in town? No. Then you can't vote. So it was, you know, it was a misunderstanding. Well, I'm on the checklist, so don't I get to vote? No. Right around that same time, there was another person who was on the checklist, had moved to Amherst, was having some family issues, was temporarily out of the house, was still on the checklist. They were questioned, and I said, do you still consider Merrimack as your home? Or are you just out temporarily? He said, I'm just out temporarily. I said, fine, you can vote. This is your domicile. So there are various things that come into play. But I don't think we've got voter fraud. I don't think there's massive voter fraud. Certainly not in Merrimack. Too many people know too many people. So if you walk in and say, I'm Finley Rothaus, somebody's going to turn around and say, no, you're not. And you don't know that that's going to happen. So I don't think we've got that.
All right, anything further? All right, thank you, Lynn.
I'm done.
Sorry, I didn't
I will
get you
see
right
you all on your shifts at the various polling locations. And we should have a good day. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you very
Lynn.
much. All right, what I'd like to do now, since I goofed up the works here, I'm going to move up to announcements again. Eileen, do you have any announcements? And I do
I actually don't. Nobody left me a
not. No,
paper,
perfect.
so sorry.
No, that's good. I have a couple of quick things here. First, it's about the election. The general election will be held on Tuesday, November 6th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The three polling locations are the James Mastrocola Upper Elementary School, the Merrimack Middle School, and St. John Newman in the south end of town. Please visit the New Hampshire Secretary of State's website to find your specific polling location. Be advised that traffic will be heavy in the at the polling places due to the expected high voter turnout. Pay particular attention to signage and police officers directing traffic due to potential traffic pattern changes. The town offices and the Merrimack Transportation will be closed on Monday, November 12th in observance with Veterans Day. The members of the military, past and present, we would like to thank you for your service to the country. The town council meets on the first and third Thursdays in the months of November, December, and those dates are as follows. November 15th at 7 p.m., December 6th at 7 p.m., and December 20th at 7 p.m., all here in the Matthew Thornton Room. And then next on the highway garage update. Substantial progress continues to be made on the new highway facility. The rough plumbing and electrical has been installed. The insulation placed on the walls and the drywall has been hung. Over the next 2 weeks, the installation of the overhead garage bay doors will be complete. The drywall will be mudded and taped and sanded. Interior and exterior doors will be installed. Walls will be painted. Acoustical tiles will be installed. And the administration portion of the building will be sided. We are still expecting to be able to transition into the new building at the end of November. Kyle, the Works Director. Okay, now we're back up to where I had initially goofed up, and that's item number 2 under appointments is the Merrimack Library update. Will be presented this year's past activities. No.
It's a hot seat.
Merrimack Library Board of Trustees. Is it, oh, it wasn't on?
Just pull it a little bit closer if you could.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Actually, we can hear
It's
you.
on.
It's
The button's on.
You get to pull it really close.
Not that close.
Don't need it.
I'm Laura Philp. I'm the chair of the Merrimack Library Board of Trustees. I'm here with Yvette Kauser, our director, and this evening we're just going to go over some highlights of this past year's board's activities and the library. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask and interrupt us at any time. I'm going to turn things over to Yvette, and then I'll kick in at the end.
Kick it. Wow, here we go. Now kick it. Thank you, Laura. You're like a newscaster. Thank you, Laura.
We
So-
were on the radio for a while.
And we were. Thanks for having us here. It's nice to see you all. So during 2018, I had mentioned last year, this time last year, that 2018 is the library's 125th birthday. I know it's pretty amazing to think about that. So we have been celebrating our birthday all year long. And I'm going to just highlight a couple of events that we did as part of our celebration. In February, we had an author visit with Rebecca Rule. She is a New Hampshire author. Some of you might know of her. She's a humorist. I am seeing lots of blank faces, which is very sad because she is hysterical. She's located in the Northwood area. And you would be very interested in a book that she has about public meetings and town meetings in New Hampshire and how that happens. But Becky Rule is a humorist, and she goes around the state and gathers oral stories and writes them down. And then she tells them and retells them, and she's wonderful. So we had her in February, and she also was featured in our book group, our monthly book group that we have for adults. In April, we had an event called the Human Library. We had invited 14 individuals who live in New Hampshire and different towns around the state, and they each had a particular aspect of their life that they were willing to share and talk about and have one-on-one interviews with people who attended the event. There are books, and the idea is that you curate a human collection, and they share it, and a patron comes in and signs up for an appointment to talk to them or check them out for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you rotate, you return the book, and then you go and you select another book. And we did this for one afternoon, and it was wonderful. You know, it's really an opportunity to have a conversation of things that might be foreign or hard. You know, we had someone who is an atheist come by. We had someone who is an evangelical Christian who struggled with adult entertainment. And we were able to sit and talk to one, talk to another, you know, and just open up a channel. So that was a great event.
Speaking of channel, we had a medium.
We did have a psychic medium who was there. She had the most popular checkouts. She was constantly in demand, one of the high demand items, and she was wonderful. You know, it was a very respectful event. It was really fantastic. We'd love to do it again in Merrimack. We did this in April, which is when we celebrate National Library Week, which is really, I think, an appropriate time to maybe test out something a little different, kind of a big event. So that was really great. A lot of these events were funded by a grant from Digital Credit Union. So that's how we were able to, you know, have a nice lunch, DCU. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we had $3,500 to spend on throughout the year. July 4th, we hired the Blues Brothers Tribute Band, who you might remember seeing riding a float with the Bluesmobile on July 4th, if you remember that, and a crew of volunteers and staff, friends, trustees from the library, dancing nonstop on the hottest day of the year, where the tar was melting and sticking to our sneakers. That was a great time, and they also were invited to perform at the Rotary Stage at the top of the Fun Day, which was just fantastic. They were a great show, really good performers.
We partnered with the Parks and Recreation for that event.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did. It's always wonderful to be able to partner with Parks and Rec, and Matt was willing to share the cost of that band. July, we had an event called the Edible Book Festival. What this is patrons are invited to create something edible that's on a book theme. So you might have, for example, there was a plate with 3 candy bars on it. There were 3 Musketeer candy bars. Of course, you're familiar with the classic, the Three Musketeers, yes. So we also had a cake that was a scene from a book you also might have heard of called It by Stephen King, complete with a sidewalk, a gutter, a creepy clown peering out of the gutter, and a balloon. So a lot of incredible creativity and detail went into a lot of these cakes and just sweet creations that was really fantastic. Another event that was, easy for staff to set up, really involved the community and just a lot of great ideas. So we want to try and do that again sometime. September was our big birthday party, and we extended our hours a little bit on the Sunday of the 23rd. We invited WSMN 1590 Nashua, Bob Bardis and Bob Bernacki to come and broadcast live from the library in the lobby. And we had a keynote speaker. We invited the New Hampshire State Librarian Michael York to come and give a speech, and he stayed on site for a couple of hours and toured the building and checked out our 3D printer, and that was really neat that he was willing to spend an afternoon with us and away from whatever his other responsibilities are. We had a live band, Six Cowards, local band. We had refreshments. I gave tours of the building, all of the back rooms and back stairwells, the basement, storage rooms. I was a little surprised that people were so interested to see where we store paper and holiday books and the mechanical room and staff areas, but happy to do it. I'm always happy to give a tour of the building and answer questions about anything if you want. I'm usually there, so you can make an appointment with me. Any of you, if you want to tour the building also, I'm happy to show you our mechanical room or, it's haunted. Our medium who came to Human Library, she actually, last October, she came with two ghost hunters. Yeah, you remember this. You don't remember this? She came and they set out their equipment throughout the library for a couple hours. I was there, so don't worry about it. But, the library was staffed by me, and I was supervising that they were treating everything with respect, and they were. But they recorded a lot of very interesting sounds, voices. I heard the tape. I cannot explain it. They recorded, they recorded sound, electronic sound waves that when they were slowed down did sound like words and sentences that were coherent. Our medium, the medium that came, also reported that she saw different signatures of people that maybe used to work in the library. She did tell me, I wasn't too happy to hear this, but she said she saw what seemed to be Miss Emma Cross, who was the first director. I think there she is, hello. She, supposedly an image of her haunting the building, with Dr. Pillsbury, who was the first trustee, also haunting the building. And I thought, well, I don't know if I want my final days or my after life to be spent. As much as I love Merrimack and the library, I don't want to spend eternity even a section or a glimmer of eternity with any of my colleagues. I don't want to wish that on anyone. This month, now we're in November, we are going to have our turkey shoot. It's November 15th.
You could postpone your meeting. And come to the turkey shoot.
You can sneak away, maybe if this end of the table, causes a distraction. This end of the table, you can tag in and out, Hey.
More cameras pointing at this place.
Well, maybe we can do a remote thing. Maybe I can see it as outreach. Maybe I will be here, and maybe we can run some, like a call-in, We could have a runner. We can do an auction. We could talk. I'm always willing to figure out a solution. We can. So we're having our turkey shoot. We are trying to raise money to host a New England author series next year in 2019. We have some donated funds. This event usually raises a good amount, so hopefully we'll be able to do that, and have a really nice series of authors throughout next year.
We should
Yeah.
say that turkeys are not shot during
Okay,
the
yeah,
turkey
this
shoot.
is
It's raffles.
it's a food raffle.
Yeah.
So if you want to come, starts at 6:00. It's at Merrimack High School cafeteria. So doors open at 6. First raffle for the dinners is pulled at 6:30. And we will raffle off 40 turkey dinners. It is a frozen turkey, a gallon of cider, pie, candy, and vegetables, like a bag of vegetables. And we have 4 rounds, and it's fast, furious. Nobody's gotten hurt yet. Everyone's very well behaved. We also have a section where we have specialty raffles. We've had a lot of things donated from local businesses, baskets and certificates. I have movie passes. I have a gift card from Buckley's. I mean, there's a lot of really wonderful businesses in town that continue to support us through this, and we are so thankful to them. We're going to have live music, and a kids area. So if you want to bring younger kids, the children's staff will be present to oversee some activities for them.
And the music is one of the high school's band or groups.
It's the Casey Greenson Band. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But they came last year, and their name was Last Reach. It's the same band, but now they're going under Casey name. Great band, really professional. December is the rounding out our programming, celebrating our birthday, and we have submitted an application for a commemorative postmark that we're going to use at the library during the week in December leading up to Christmas. So as I understand how the process is going to work, you can bring your mail to the library and we'll stamp it with these stamps, and it says 125 with our logo. And so that's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Excellent.
And that is no cost to get a postmark. So just to kind of move on with our staff, we didn't have any staff changes this year. The staff is working really hard. The really exciting thing that happened recently with the staff, a couple of weeks ago, I had 4 of my department heads go to the New England Library Association conference. This is NELA. It's our regional conference of the New England states. We have our, state organization, NHLA, New Hampshire Library Association, and then there's a regional one. Each state has a state organization, and this is really sending staff to a regional conference to talk about issues in libraries. The theme of this conference was diversity and how to make your libraries more diverse. They came back with a lot of ideas. They're writing up their notes, and then I will review it with them, and it's some really good ideas that we can put into our next strategic plan and see how we can make the library more open and welcoming to everybody. We continued with our Teen Squads initiative this summer. We had 20 teens participate in that and work on special projects and work on tech kits. And, the other aspect of the Teen Squads initiative over the summer is that we're hoping that these teens, it's like a first work experience for them. So they come in, they have a name tag, they have a t-shirt that they wear that says Library Teen Squad. They fill out a time card. They get evaluated. They have to have a interview. They work on group projects. They do a final presentation at the end. And they also have a resume workshop that they participate in. So it's really trying to equip them for, their next real job. I've heard back from 2 of the teens came back this year, and they said to me that the experience actually did help them get a real job during the school year, because they had a little couple of pointers about how to go into an interview. You know, little things like looking someone in the eye and shaking someone's hand properly, sending a thank you note. Really things that, you know, maybe we know about, but the next generation, are they being told these things that are really still very important little details? So that's been great. Building updates, you will have noticed we have installed new banners on the sides of the 1979 edition, that rectangle part of the building. They have our logo on them, and they have our kind of tagline, Open Your World. Those were designed by our staff. We have some very creative people at the library. Jennifer Green is an artist, as well as our head of circulation, and she designed these banners. It took her quite a long time to do it, and then sent them off to the printer, and we love them. I think it really brightens up the outside of the building, and it was fantastic. We installed the exterior book drop this summer, at the end of the summer. This was purchased partially with some funds raised from last year's turkey shoot. So it's again a good activity, a good event that we have that, you know, we really want to raise funds that will benefit the community. Some people still use the book drop that's in the building, right by the door, and they'll run up to the door, you know, run up to the door and slide it in the slot, even though we have posted signs next to this slot that says, you know, you don't have to get out of your car. This little slot is going to be discontinued today, November 1st. There will be no slot. It'll just be a wall. So you need to continue to drive through and, you know, drop it off. And it's a great book drop. You know, we have a whole procedure on how to retrieve the materials so they don't get wet when it's raining. There's a cover that we can put over the cart to move it into the building. So it's been wonderful. We had that installed with some assistance from Public Works. They prepared the spot, they poured the cement pad. They were assisting us with the delivery of the book drop. It was a very large book drop, and they have the capacity over at the highway garage to accept the delivery truck and get it off the truck, and they helped me inspect it. It was absolutely amazing. We have amazing staff who work in the town of Merrimack, and it just made the process so much easier. You know, that was great. And then they installed it, and I didn't watch them install it. It wasn't like I was spying on them. But I went out there to check on them every now and then, and I was so impressed with the attention to detail that the crew that Kyle sent over had installing this book drop. They knew it was valuable, and they were installing it as if it was being installed in their own home. That kind of care and that kind of detail, and comments and asking me, is this okay? We're going to screw it in now. Is this exactly where you want it? And so much care. When some of the crew was working on, you know, inside and fixing something on the inside of the door area there, they had also prepared that hillside and removed a lot of overgrown shrubbery and really kind of nasty stuff. And so they had started seeding it that morning and then did the book drop. And when a couple of the crew was working on the book drop, the others picked up the seeding project. You know, they were not, you know, standing around playing cards or anything. They were working, you know, and it was incredibly efficient. And I can't say enough about it. It was incredibly impressive. It was fantastic. So thank you to Kyle and his crew over there. Unfortunately, the downside for the building this summer, we had another flood. Again, speaking with Paul and working with him about maybe something like a more permanent solution. We're still discussing that. So it's definitely on everyone's radar, and we do want to fix it and find a solution. We can't keep having the same problem over and over. It's frustrating for everyone. We kind of something on the plus side of the building, we did hire Stibler Associates. They're a design firm in Bedford, and they've been conducting a space study of the existing building. They started working with us over the summer, and I just met with them yesterday with the most recent floor plan. What it is They've talked to me, they've talked to some outside stakeholders. They've interviewed the staff, department heads to come up with like something like an organic plan, rearranging the departments in the building without changing anything so far. It's really just moving the puzzle pieces around on the inside and seeing, does this work with your workflow? Does this make sense? Are these two departments that you say they need adjacency, now they look like this? Does that work for you? And it's gone back and forth a couple of times with a couple of different versions with some more interaction with myself and the staff. They're going to be presenting the most recent fit study to the staff in a couple weeks, and then at the November board meeting, they will show it to the trustees, and then the trustees will have to think about it, and see where we go from here.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it is great. It is great. Moving on to services, we have submitted an application, and we're going through the training, two of the staff, myself and another staff, to become a passport acceptance facility. This is a service that several other libraries in our area are offering. The Wadley Library in Milford offers this. The Dover Public Library offers this service. And it's a good service to offer to the public. It's also income generating for the library. We are evaluating our collection and doing what I would consider an overhaul of the collection, thinking of it in light of the FIT study, of the space study, and also in light of the kinds of electronic materials we are adding to the collection. We will still have print in Merrimack, as far as I can see. But it's, trying to really make it a vibrant collection. Collection development is kind of an ongoing thing, but we really are focusing our attention on it in a particular way this year. We've added circulating video consoles, so you can check out a gaming system and try it out at home if you want. We are continuing our partnership with the Merrimack Chamber of Commerce. I host a monthly business book group. I'm also on the chamber board, so full disclosure there. So collaboration, it's me. But I can wear two hats at once. Tomorrow I'll be going to a NHLA, New Hampshire Library Association Conference on Diversity. So that conversation is going to be a little bit more local, and I'll find out what the plans are and what kinds of suggestions locally people are talking about, thinking about. And I'm going to turn it over to Laura now. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Basically, just a little update on the board. The Board of Trustees allows for 3 alternates, so we are looking for 3 alternates to come forward if they would like to serve on the Merrimack board. The alternates serve for a term of 1 year and need to apply, of course, to the town council, who actually appoints the alternate. We're also this year putting together an orientation manual, because there's, over time, so much information you have to know now. And it's a way to help new trustees break into their position, hopefully a little more quickly. We are also this year improving the staff evaluation process by including a 360 process, so that peers and peers can evaluate each other, peers, staff and supervisors, to get a fuller feeling for how staff are actually performing. And the last thing we'll be doing is collaborating with the director on a marketing plan, and during the next strategic plan, which will be coming up about another year. So that's what we're doing. And again, I'd like to extend an invitation to the turkey shoot to all of you, and, lightly suggest that perhaps you wiggle around your meeting time to attend. It's a very fun series. This is our 9th year, and we just would like people to come and enjoy. And also, anyone who would like to come to the library to tour, to learn more about it, please do. And also, I would like to remind everyone that anyone who works or lives in Merrimack is eligible for a library card and the services we offer. So, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Laura.
Great, thank you.
Does anybody have any comments, questions? Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yvette, Laura, thanks for coming tonight. And again, thank you for all the work that you do to make our library a jewel in the community. I do appreciate it. The question I have is, we're fast approaching our budget season. Do we anticipate seeing financially what that permanent solution might be for the flooding problem in the basement?
I would need to talk to Paul.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, appreciate it. The fact that it's on your radar, I would like to assume that it's on our radar as well, so.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're very familiar with what's going on, so I agree with you. I'd like to see if we can fix it
Yeah.
sooner than later, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Peter?
Yvette, how's the collaboration with Meals on Wheels going?
We would love to get more clients, you know. We'd love to get more clients, you know. I think we have the system, it works very well, and I would be ready to expand it. And that means if you're not homebound in an official sense, there are ways that we can try and define the terms of your limitations. Like if you have a limited illness, or just a limited amount of time when you could benefit from home services, then that's the next step for this, rather than having a partnership with a company that works and does it already. The thing that we would need is to figure out the driving. Do we have the trustees, and maybe speaking to the town, figure out a policy so that everyone can be protected, we aren't liable for any problems that might happen on the road. So that would be the next step, to start investigating that. But traditionally in libraries that I've worked in before, where I have worked in home services departments, that would be the next step. There are several levels of home delivery that you can have. And the next one is, I am, I'm on a maternity, I'm pregnant, and I'm on bed rest, and I still want to have my materials. How can we assist with that? So it's really just a matter of figuring out categories, and then what do we do to make sure everyone gets what they need and
Sounds like a great
safe.
program.
And, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything further? I have a little comment. I actually feel guilty for even mentioning it tonight, because that was just a wonderful report, but I don't know if I'm real happy and excited about your new sign. I'm waiting to see it in full operation.
It's operating.
Okay.
It's operating now.
Was it
What sign is that?
on the north end of the building?
It's an electric sign.
So,
Electric sign.
so what happened, that's my fault. I'll just say, whenever there's a problem at the library, it's my fault. I can own that. I don't have a problem with that. And I actually say that in all seriousness. But we had a sign installed, and then it was hanging there and was not turned on. And then we had the electrician come and connect it. And then we didn't know how to turn it off. So, how things go, the best laid plans. The training happened after the sign was turned on. And we've been to the training, and now it's on. So I do apologize for the very annoying red, blue, that's my fault. That's my fault. I will be at the turkey shoot on November 15th. If anyone wants to speak to me in person and complain to me in person, you can come to the night of raffles at the Merrimack High School cafeteria at 6 o'clock. The doors will open. I will be there, and you can come and complain to me all about the sign. But it's on now, and it's
Everything has a learning curve.
everything has a learning curve. We're doing the best we can, but it is operational now. So if you drive south, you will see it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much
You're
for
very welcome.
your information this evening.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Yvette.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, the council will hold a public hearing to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a sustained traffic enforcement patrols grant in the amount of $12,523 made available through the State of New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety, the Merrimack Police Department, to address the safety of our roads with the goal of reduced accidents pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15. Please, Captain Dudash, good evening. I think that might be off.
Each year, the Office of Highway Safety from the state presents grants, and this year they presented 3 grants to the police department. This one that we're talking about right now, that's a public grant, is for what we call the STEP Patrol, which is a sustained traffic enforcement, in the amount of $12,523 being given to the Merrimack Police Department to sustain patrols for the main purpose to reduce motor vehicle accidents. And it's all about safety precautions. We're just trying to lower the accidents down. And if there are accidents, we're trying to reduce the seriousness of them. So with that, on this grant, $12,523 has been earmarked. And just for the board's information, the money is decreasing. They're really narrowing down what communities are receiving the money. And Merrimack still receives quite a bit of money because of the amount of traffic we have in the area and the amount of car accidents.
Thank you, Mike. Do you have any questions? Barbara?
Hi.
Hi.
So, question for you: whereabouts will this activity take place?
Sustained patrols are wherever the officer feels is discretionary. So it's basically, we hit the areas that are high traffic areas that are usually the most frequently when it comes to car accidents. For example, Continental Boulevard by Tinker Road, that's probably our #1 spot in the town. So that area is patrolled quite a bit. Some of our back roads that we receive a lot of complaints on, such as Wire Road, which is like a throughway right now going towards Bedford and Ware and Dunbarton and stuff like that. We're in that area quite a bit. So it's up to the officer, although the supervisor will point them in the certain directions to remind them where the areas that are of concern are.
Right. You're welcome to come to Back River Road.
And Back River Road is on that list.
So the intent of this is to educate or to give tickets or to what?
The intent really is traffic enforcement through either warnings or summonses. And the Highway Safety Agency really has been preaching the last couple of years that they want summonses to be increased. And that's the area that, I'll be honest with you, the Merrimack Police Department needs to increase a little more is on the summonses. We give a lot of warnings, but the Highway Safety has met with us individually, each department, in the past couple of months. And they went over our numbers, and basically they said Merrimack needs to increase our summonses a little. But it comes down to, although enforcement can be educational, the whole purpose is punitive.
Is punitive.
Yes.
And the state is giving out these grants to put officers
That's
on the
correct. I mean,
street?
basically it comes down from the federal government down to the states, and then it gets distributed to the local communities.
And funds from these summonses goes back to the state, right?
Money goes 100% back to the state, yes.
I'm going to come right off of Tom's comments. Last year, I had a bunch of questions because in the grant write-up, it did speak to summonses being more of a focus. I've always been impressed in Merrimack. We used to get the tally of traffic violations, tickets versus warnings, and we were always at about 6 to 8%. And I thought that's reasonable because if you got, there's different reasons why people should get tickets, I'm sure, in your line of work. I can imagine some of them, but I always thought I believe it's better from a community police department to be trying to educate people. So if you have somebody who's had 2 or 3 warnings, then maybe the education has to change, I suppose. But if it's the primary goal of this is punitive, then I have more difficulty with it. And I actually even stated that last year. I don't think you made the presentation. I can't remember, Mike.
Right. And that's, that's highway safety, and I would say it's coming from the federal government to be more punitive with summonses. I will say the Merrimack Police Department has always stood behind, and we've actually expressed our concern to our representative from Highway Safety that warnings sometimes are just as good as the summons. And I think we continue that practice in this town.
Yeah, no, and I definitely appreciate that. I agree with that. The stated goal of this, though, has me concerned for this grant in particular.
Yeah, but also, you look at the bottom line, and it is about reducing
Absolutely.
accidents and fatalities, and the amount of traffic that we have in this town, the amount of roads that we have in this town. I think we're doing a pretty good job keeping the speeds down, and that's what the purpose. We need some help, just because a lot of it comes down to a lot of the calls that we handle. We have guys tied up, so really it's a chance and opportunity for us to have a car out there for 4 hours. With these patrols, concentrating 100% on the motoring public.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose.
Okay, great, thank you. Peter? Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, and I support this this grant, Captain, and a couple on the basis a couple of reasons. You've cited some of them already, but the busier our officers get, handling calls going to houses and for various reasons, criminal complaints and investigations, the less time they have to do this. And this allows them specifically to target problem areas, high accident areas and so forth. Also, this puts another officer on the street, visibility. That's a good crime prevention thing. It's always better. It's nice if you can have as many officers on the street in a visible function patrolling. So I think that's another great aspect of this.
Thanks, Peter. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Captain Dudash, thank you for the memo. I appreciate it. You're right that the grant is going to fund 65 4-hour patrols between the hours of 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. But it's also my understanding that I know that the police department switch shifts. There you go. Say that 9 times. Switch shifts at 7 a.m. and at 3 p.m. So my question is, are you dedicating an additional patrol officer specifically for this grant program, or is this going to be tasked to somebody that's already going to be?
This cannot be earmarked for anybody that's on patrol. So
Okay, I
it
just
has to
want
be
that to
for,
be
it's
clear.
overtime only, so it's officers that are on days off, or somebody coming off at 7 o'clock, you can pick up extra 4 hours overtime and do the patrols.
So this is in addition to the regular staffing that goes on a daily?
Exactly, and like
Perfect.
Councilor Albert said, it puts another vehicle on the street.
And I just wanted to amplify that point, just so that it was clear. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Captain.
Eileen?
I realize that it's obviously, hi, Captain.
Hi.
I just wanted to, I realize that it's up to the discretion of the officer, but do you, when somebody, when somebody does something that's speeding, whatever, running through red lights and things like that, do you, and you give somebody a warning, do you keep that, do you write that down so that you are aware that this person is a repetitive kind of a traffic problem?
Yes, we do, and actually part of the grant is, when you see the contract, that we have to keep a record of all stops. And it's always been the policy in the Merrimack Police Department to document those stops. Although, occasionally you might see a verbal warning, but we always document our stops, even warnings or a summons, and we have to keep that per the contract accessible if we ever get audited.
So just one thing, so you do it by name and all the license number and everything, so that if it came up and you have already given this person a warning or 2 warnings, it's really appropriate to give them a summons at that point.
And that's definitely correct. You do run their record. If you see somebody who's had too many warnings, you need to correct that behavior and change it.
That's right.
And a
Okay.
summons is justified and
Okay.
probably appropriate.
Good, thank you.
Is there anything further?
And I just want to add, just because they don't have a warning on their record doesn't mean they won't get a summons. If somebody's doing 70 miles per hour on Wire Road,
Sure.
they're going to get a ticket, even if it's the first time.
Right. That makes sense to me, but, all right, this is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at 7:54. If there's anybody who'd like to speak to this, you can take this mic or at the table, and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:55.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council accept and expend a grant in the amount of $12,523 made available through the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety for the Merrimack Police Department for sustained traffic enforcement patrols pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15. And furthermore, that the town manager or her proxy be authorized to sign documents necessary to accept and expend said monies.
And motion by Councilor Boyd, seconded by Barbara Haley. Bill, would you like to speak to your motion?
I think it's been spoken to.
Any further comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstains. It's 6-1-0. I'm in the negative.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. We'll be right back with you in just a moment. Updates from legislators, seeing none in the audience. Town manager's report. Eileen, did you have something for this evening?
I don't, no.
Okay. Consent agenda, nothing in the consent agenda, so now TJ's happy that you had no report this evening. And item 1, under new business, Boy Scout TJ Vadney from Troop 424 is proposing to build an archery equipment storage shed at Wasserman Park adjacent to the existing archery range for his Eagle Scout project. And TJ's here this evening, and if you can come up here and make your presentation if you would.
Oh, a little model, huh?
It'll take just a short bit.
We'll use to send a signal.
So, hello.
You can feel free to start if you'd like.
My name's TJ Vadney. I'm a life scout here in Troop 44 Merrimack out of Our Lady of Mercy across the street. I came here today to present my proposal for a archery shed for Camp Natticook. Next slide, please.
It's turned off. Sorry.
I met with Mr. Kasparius about a month ago now to discuss possible project ideas, and he mentioned an archery shed. He said the camp, the building that the equipment's currently in, is going to be undergoing repurposing in the next year, and they didn't have a space for archery equipment. And I thought that'd be a pretty perfect project, actually, because, you know, scouts, we have a big involvement with the outdoors and youth programming and stuff like that. I thought the project would be extremely beneficial as well, because it'll help with youth development and giving kids opportunities to be in the outdoors and experience new opportunities. So I decided on that project. And I drafted a schedule. So currently, I made it through the idea phase so far, and now I'm with the Town/Eagle Board presentations. I'm about halfway through that phase currently. Next, I plan to move on to fundraising, which will be up until about December time point, where I can start construction. I plan on doing most of the construction either indoors in my garage over the winter of the shed, and then transporting it over to Wasserman Park, be assembled and painted in the springtime, and then the estimated delivery date is June 2019, before the camp season can start. So I'm going to take out my laser pointer now. The proposed location for the project is right along Natticook Road. It's near the current archery platform where the camp is, and it would just be kind of off in the woods on a little clearing right there. Next slide. The project budget currently, as is about $2,200, and that's before any kind of donation or fundraising has been done. I plan on fundraising through traditional bake sale, but I'm also looking for other fundraising opportunities, potentially selling like bowl of chili at town events, stuff like that. But I haven't quite come up with my full fundraising plan as of right now. Trying to get the video to start. Okay. Sorry about this.
You can tell us what it's supposed to be.
Can't help you.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with
Okay. So here's kind of a video. It's a time lapse of the model being built for the project.
There you go.
The model is in 1/8 inch scale to 1 foot. So I have the model here. I'm gonna pass it around. It comes apart, so the floor will fall if you don't hold on to it. But there's the model as is right now. And we decided on that for the presentation instead of traditional drawing plans, because I felt like it'd be much better to hold a tangible object and kind of see how it'll look, final product.
I'm a visual guy, so it's perfect.
But we do have drawn plans.
You are to be commended for keeping it away from Tucker.
Yes.
Tucker's his dog.
Break it, Barbara.
I
Wait,
know.
it fell apart?
So it'll have shelves in it?
Yes, it'll actually be, so it'll have shelves on the lower level, and then I plan to put a loft in for larger target storage.
Is this gonna be enclosed?
Yes.
Or is it open? Is
No,
it
it's-
open for us to see into
It's,
it?
yep,
Okay, just checking.
Air conditioning.
So there's no openings front and back either?
no, there will
Okay.
just be the door on the front, and that should be enough for lighting inside of it as well.
Well, you got the roof and everything off, good, great.
I get it. I'm not, you don't need to pass it.
Don't touch.
I think it might, it's kind of out of order now.
So,
Keep checking.
And
So-
TJ, just to clarify, the shed is actually gonna be, the platform is overlooking the archery range.
Yes,
So the shed's could be kitty coated behind the actual platform.
So there's kind of a rough guesstimation of it superimposed on an actual, on the area. It's, it'll be a little farther forward and it'll be a little smaller in relative to the archery shed, but that's about how it'll look in the person's to scale, so that's 6 foot right there scale. But,
but
I'll
see, you
open up-
show this wide open, and that's not what it's gonna look like when it's finished, right?
No, I just did the wide open for people to get a look inside of it.
I understand, but you show it here wide open as well.
Oh, yes, that's just the model superimposed on an image of the area.
So I guess one of my questions is, what is this gonna look like from Natticook Road as you drive by?
You're just gonna see the back of the shed from Natticook Road. So the entrance will be out towards the archery shed,
Uh-huh.
or towards the archery platform, so it's just easier to move in and out, but you'll just see basically the back side of the shed.
And what's the backside of the shed gonna look like?
Just right here, but this,
Well, I see that. What's it gonna look like when you build it on the ground there?
it'll look the same.
Is
It'll
it gonna
be
be
about,
painted? Is it gonna be
yeah, it'll
brown?
be
Is it gonna be
painted, so
white?
it'll be
Is it-
painted brown, like all the other, buildings at Camp Wasserman. So I got a paint sample from Mr. Casparius, so I can get that color matched.
The whole building is gonna be that color?
Yes,
Okay.
and there will be signage on the front as well, once
Okay.
that's completed.
You think about something nice and bright on the back that could be maybe entertaining for somebody driving by? Or a scout logo, or a, who knows, you know, just
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
be prepared or whatever. I mean, it ought to have something. If you're gonna have,
Mhm.
if you're gonna have a box out there,
Yeah,
you might think about
give us some
whether or not
visual
it ought to
appeal.
have some kind of a sign on it or something that,
That's a nice idea.
Yeah, versus a plant sitting in the back.
versus a what?
Versus a shrub or something
Oh,
sitting at the back,
well,
too.
that would be nice too,
help
as long
hide
as it's
it.
not just a building.
Yeah, I know,
sitting
I
there.
know what you're
mean,
saying is, as you go by that area, you don't want just a building to jump out at you as you go by.
EJ, just a thought, you may have already considered it, but I know Home Depot has been receptive to other, I know the Girl Scouts, when they did the dog park, I think they helped them out with some supplies and stuff. You might want to consider them.
I did talk to Mr. Casparius, and I got the tax ID code for the town, so I can put that in, or I can give that to like Home Depot or Reed's Ferry Lumber, so they can get community service write-off for that and stuff like that. So
Yeah, both great organizations, great companies that have been helpful to other scouts in the past.
thank you.
This is just a wise guy question. I'm known for that. Now, you're gonna be building this in your garage during the winter. Is your family happy about not being able to park their car in the garage during the winter?
His truck doesn't fit in the garage.
Anyway, oh, see, so.
Yeah,
So
I
he
got-
doesn't use that part, okay,
I
I
have
don't
an
feel
open
bad
half
for
of
you
the
then.
garage.
Gotcha. Well, that's convenient.
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
TJ, is the shed gonna have a door on it
Yes.
that is able to be locked, I presume?
Yes. So it'll be a just a padlock. I talked to Mr. Casparius about.
Oh, I see the doors here, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep. And then it will have, I forgot to mention the foundation, but it'll be on,
Yeah.
it'll have 4 foot, it'll be dug in 4 feet into the ground, and it'll just be done with sonotube. So it'll be poured foundation, it won't be like a full-on square foundation, but it'll have a lot more stability then.
Yep, oh, perfect. Perfect. Does anybody have anything further? No. TJ, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I move that
Oh,
the,
Bill, could you hold on your motion just for a second?
of course,
Go ahead, Bill.
okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council endorse and support Life Scout TJ Vadney from Our Lady of Mercy Troop 424's Eagle Scout project of an archery equipment storage shed to be built at Wasserman Park adjacent to the existing archery range, and that furthermore, that the council chairman or the town manager be authorized to sign any documents necessary to approve TJ's project with the Boy Scout Council.
Thank you, Bill. Motion by Councilor Boyd, seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion on your
Very
motion?
quickly, Mr. Chairman, TJ, I think this is one of the best part of our jobs up here, is getting to hear young gentlemen and young ladies like yourself that bring projects to town for approval. And again, you know, we've made a strong commitment to Wasserman Park to improve the quality of life for people that go there. So you're just adding to the jewel in our crown. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing its completion in next June.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bill? Nancy?
Just want to make a comment about your presentation. You did a really nice job.
Thank you.
One of the things I look at, and it's, the more you listen, as Bill mentioned, you get used to all different kinds of presentation. What I was impressed about you is that you didn't have to look at your notes when you were presenting it. You knew the presentation in and out. You clearly had the information down, and you didn't let that little, problem there ruin it. You just went with it, and it fixed it, and it just continued. And that's impressive, because it really can throw you off. So, well done.
Thank
Nice
you.
presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? No? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 700. Thank you very much. Did you have anything for us to sign tonight, or?
So I actually don't need you guys to sign anything. I have a packet I need Mr. Kasparius to sign, just as my beneficiary, but that's the only signature I need from the town.
Okay,
Thank
All
you.
right. Very good. Thanks, we appreciate
Thank
your time. and what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
Thank you.
Good job, TJ.
Yeah. Eileen,
He'll come back
Eileen,
with it.
just check with Matt on that, because I'm thinking it might be something different. Just check with Matt on the signature thing.
Yeah, that could be later.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Captain. I appreciate your patience.
I'm back.
Bill was wanting you to come forward do all yours at once, and I thought it'd be a good idea, but these guys like
Oh,
to
no
get
plan
out.
with that. And nothing. No plans.
Perfect. No plans? So you like being here?
Got nowhere to be, huh?
Well,
All
We
right.
don't either, but,
Item number 2 under new business, the council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a Merrimack DWI Patrols grant in the amount of $7,970 made available through the State of New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety to the Merrimack Police Department to fund 41 4-hour patrols between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
Hi, Chairman. As I mentioned before, there was 3 grants coming in front of the council tonight. The second one that I'm doing right now is $7,970 from highway safety for DWI patrols for to pretty much get the drunk driver off the road. And this year, in the past, they used to be 6-hour patrols. This year, they've been minimized down to 4 hours. So, as you'll see in the notes or in the memo I wrote, basically, I believe it's 41 patrols, 4 hours at a time between the hours of 9 and 3. But again, the reason for this money, it comes down from the federal government down to the state level, and it gets distributed to the communities. Again, this is to take the drivers that's impaired off the road for the safety of the commuters.
Thank you. Barbara?
Captain, what were the hours again for the patrols? 9 a.m. to
They-
3 a.m.?
Yeah, pretty much they set up 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. It used to be 6-hour patrols, but this year they reduced it down to 4. So, but they still want it between that target. They believe that's the time that most people, the most frequent amount of people that are out on the road impaired are between those hours. I don't think 3 o'clock is really a,
Happy hour?
yeah, I mean, personally, I think what we see, when we see people that are impaired, it's usually between the hours of 9 and about 12 o'clock to maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So we will
Yeah.
focus on those hours.
Peter?
Captain, I know we had one before, but does the department have a drug recognition expert?
Yes, we do. Officer Ryan Milligan.
Okay.
And I believe he went probably in the last year and a half
Okay.
to a very intense school, as you know.
Oh, yeah, it's training intense, but in this day and age with, you know, the opioid crisis and people operating under the influence of, a lot of people operating under the influence of other things other than alcohol, I think that's an important key to have. And I would support, and maybe the highway safety has a grant to send maybe a second officer out to this type of training. Only because, you know, you see so many accidents now, and a lot of them are related to people on medications, under the influence of marijuana, heroin, and fentanyl, so.
And that's true, and I mean, the influence of under marijuana is increasing significantly right now, and that's really the problem. And I can tell you in the past week, I know we've had a couple arrests that what we call below double zeros, because you think maybe it's alcohol, but it's really drugs that are impairing them.
Now, was the drug recognition expert brought in on those cases?
I can't speak for sure. I can check into that if you want me to.
Yeah, I'm sure, no, don't worry about that. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Are these, if I may, are these specifically targeted to alcohol, though? You say
The
DWI patrols.
The purpose is to get the impaired driver off the road, so it is alcohol. Although, like Council Albert said, you do encounter other impaired drivers that are besides alcohol. It could be, you know, marijuana, it could
Sure.
be pills, it could be something like that.
Okay, and that, you're not targeting those, you're targeting anybody impaired,
That's correct.
fooling around on the roads when they shouldn't be.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the pleasure of the council.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council accept and expend the Merrimack DWI Patrol Grant in the amount of $7,970 made available through the State of New Hampshire's Office of Highway Safety to the Merrimack Police Department to fund 41 4-hour patrols between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15, that furthermore, that the town manager or a proxy be authorized to sign any documents necessary to accept and expend said grant monies.
Bill.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Boyd, seconded by Councilor Thornton.
Yeah, I have a question.
Do you want to speak to your motion?
Speaks for itself, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask, the 7,970 and the 41 patrols, is that money earmarked specifically for patrols, or is there some money earmarked for data management and?
No, we have to offer, we got to bring up what they call a soft match of 25%, and that's off to the side. So that money is exactly earmarked for the patrol, but our 25% matches, you know, gas, the time spent, like myself being here, that counts as towards the match, along with the use of the vehicle, along with other administrative things such as filling the detail, the supervisors reviewing the reports. So that's the 25 soft match. But this money, the question I asked, that's earmarked exactly for the patrol.
Okay, so all of the other expenses are the town's expenses that we pick up, and they sort of calculate that to be around 25%?
Correct.
Okay, thanks, appreciate that info.
Anything further? Seeing nothing, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained. 700. Item number 3, under new business. Council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a Merrimack Distracted Driving Patrols Grant in the amount of $5,665 made available through the State of New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety to the Merrimack Police Department to fund 29 4-hour patrols to deter distracted and negligent driving pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
This is the third grant and final grant that was awarded to the Merrimack Police Department. It's an amount of $5,665 for the 29 patrols. And this money is to focus on the enforcement of the distracted driver. And when we think of distracted driver, it is really what we're looking for, people on cell phones and mobile devices that are not concentrating on the road.
Thanks, Kevin. Any discussion? Questions?
So where's the focus? Is it on the fact that they have a phone in their hand, or is it on the fact that they're not concentrating on the road?
Well, we have to go by the state law, so it's focusing on being on a mobile device. So it's
Okay, so somebody on a
Focus
ham
it-
radio is okay, because that's not a phone.
correct. So
But
we're-
it's just as distracting.
right. So we're looking for somebody to be on a mobile.
So if you're after distracted drivers, I'm all for this. If you're after somebody with a phone, I think it's
There's a lot of
ridiculous.
distracted drivers, including people who have pets in their laps. I mean, but that doesn't count underneath
Well-
this enforcement.
Under this enforcement, that doesn't count? Eating food and combing your hair and
No, it
putting on
does
your
not.
lipstick?
No.
That would be,
Peter?
I do that.
Councilor
Although, I
Coney,
mean-
that would be negligent driving.
Although
Well,
if
it
there
said
was,
negligent in here, didn't it?
did.
But no, but that would be negligent driving, and a ham radio.
Distracted and
Did you say
negligent
ham
driving.
radio?
It says negligent
Ham
driving right
radio,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an electronic device. If it were hooked, somehow wired into your car, it's an electronic device, just like an iPod or anything else, so that would be
But it's not
enforceable.
considered a phone, it's part of
No,
that
but
distracted
it's a-
driving law.
But it is, it's an electronic device.
My understanding was it was specifically excluded. I can
As
go
far-
back and reread it, but I sure thought ham radio was specifically excluded from that law, which I always thought was kind of ridiculous.
I always have to refresh my, my memory on that law, and when we do pass out these details for the thing, we have the law printed to the detail sheet, because it's, the officers do get confused on that, because just like there's a debate here, it does happen with the officers too.
Okay, so even though you're saying that it's for distracted and negligent driving, you really mean it's for whatever's in that particular legislation?
Exactly.
Bummer.
I wasn't gonna go on that tangent. Because
Well, I
I've
figured
always
since you went
believed,
there with the first one, and
Yeah, no,
I sort of
I-
almost supported you on it.
I've always believed that they could have handled distracted driving without the legislation, but apparently not.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of distractions.
Distracted counseling.
Distracted counseling,
All
yes.
Counselor Boyd, you want a motion?
It just happened all of a sudden.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the town council accept and expend of a Merrimack Distracted Driving Patrol Grant in the amount of $5,665 made available through the state of New Hampshire's Office of Highway Safety to the Merrimack Police Department to fund 29 4-hour patrols to deter distracted and negligent driving pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15, that furthermore, that the town manager be authorized any documents necessary to accept and expend said grant monies.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Boyd, seconded by Councilor Haley. Any discussion on your motion, Bill?
Speaks for itself, Mr.
Any
Chairman.
further discussion?
I'll be voting against this.
I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. It's 5-0 with Tom Koenig and myself voting in the negative. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you. Have a good evening,
Appreciate you
everybody.
being here. Item number, take care now. Feel free to come back anytime.
Stay a while if you like.
Item number 4, under new business, the council to consider the acceptance and expenditure of a donation of services from the Light Up the Night Productions to the Parks and Recreation Department to provide holiday lighting outlining the bandstand at Abbey Griffin Park at no cost to the town pursuant to RSA 31:95E and Charter Article 8, Section 15.
Move approval.
Motion by Council Boyd, seconded by Barbara Healy.
Somebody present
Yeah,
it.
let me let
Wait, I got a
Bill
question.
speak to his motion if he would like to, and then I'm gonna have Eileen.
Let the town manager speak.
Did you want to,
Somebody ought to present it.
Yeah, okay. So I'm texting him because some of this stuff's not on here. So he said that it has a value with the work, the services, and the holiday lighting of about $800. So I asked him if they could potentially do it somewhere else, like Watson Park, where it could be seen better, like one of the structures in there, and he hasn't responded back yet.
That was gonna be my question as well. Put it at Watson Park, because Abbey Griffin Park, I mean, we already have
See it.
the tree, the wreaths, everything else. I mean, you want it to be noticeable.
Yeah.
And you guys all know that I've been a big advocate of putting other lights for the holidays, for Christmas.
So what would you put it on at Watson Park?
Well, you have the gazebo, you have,
Which is about 200 yards tucked in off the road and can't be seen.
well, if they light this thing up, you're gonna be able to see it quite a big distance. But you're not gonna see it when it's on top of a hill, because it's gonna deteriorate from the tree and everything else that they put up there. That's really nice. So I would rather have them.
Barbara would like to, go ahead.
No,
finish
no,
your
no,
time,
no.
I'm sorry.
You can shut me off.
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't
just
wanna shut you
wondering, who is Light Up the Night Productions and where are they out of? What's that?
They're a local business. They are off of Priscilla Lane. Actually, if you see their sign on Route 3, as you're going on the Everett Turnpike, there's a large barn at the end of Priscilla, right next to the highway.
Yep.
Local business in town, and I think that's wonderful that Mr. Letourneau has volunteered their services.
Right, and for me, if that's where they wanted to put it, I'm more inclined to leave it there, but that's just my thought, but Barbara wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, Peter.
I don't know, I like Tom's idea of, I know Bill says it's set back, but I think if you light it up, it looks nice, it goes towards the ice rink, and so forth, and if Mr. Letourneau's,
Well, if he's
I don't know if that's a bigger structure, so,
It is a
think
bigger
it's-
structure.
so if Mr. Letourneau,
I think it's a great idea. I think you can put it along maybe the, what's the parking, guardrails or whatever we just did down there too, whatever, I mean, do something. But make it so it's more prominent to town. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm all about Christmas lights, but I wanna see them.
Yeah,
I sit at mobile at the light, I can't see the tree.
I think if you're coming northbound, the grandstand where Abby Griffin is very visible from DW Dyewood. When you're coming northbound, and I think it's gonna be much more visible at Abby Griffin than it would be at Watson Park.
Should we leave it up to the?
I'm all in I personally, I think it's a great idea, whether it's at Abby Griffin or Watson Park, I don't wanna belabor the point. I think somebody's offering their services to light up a certain part of town. I do not wanna look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm very grateful that this gentleman is stepping up. But whatever the will is of the council as to what would be a more suitable location, I'm more than happy to go along with what the majority of this council decides.
Thank you, Bill. Eileen?
Okay, I just asked Matt, and he said that it was him that suggested it,
Okay.
Abby Griffin.
So he might not-
So he said he can ask, and I'm sure they would be amenable to it.
Because there
Yeah,
is
it sounds
electricity
like
down
if
there.
that's what
Again,
Matt's suggestion was that.
Wonderful, that
Wouldn't it be
wonderful,
nice?
wonderful donation.
Yeah, absolutely.
question.
Peter?
If Mr. Letourneau didn't volunteer to do this, who would light up Abby Griffin? Who would put the lights on Abby Griffin?
I'm not sure that they do. I think they do the Christmas tree, they do the tree there, and they do like a wreath kind of thing, but I'm not sure that they have ever lighted it up. I'm not, do you know?
I wasn't sure either, I remember
I don't
the
think they
lights,
do.
but what I'm
trees
thinking
lit,
is,
yeah.
Mr. Letourneau's willing to do the pavilion down at Watson Park. Maybe we can have some of our staff, one, put up the Christmas tree, but run a string of lights around the gazebo or something.
They certainly like the tree.
Right.
They certainly like the tree. I thought they'd put a few more lights up than that.
I think so
You know,
too.
maybe
Yeah.
add a few more lights to that, and that way you've got two great aspects there.
Right.
Yeah, great. Will do.
Agreed.
Oh, very good. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll amend the motion to redact Abby Griffin Park and to replace it with whatever location is deemed suitable between the town manager and Mr. Letourneau.
Yeah, there you go.
Parks and Rec and Mr. Letourneau.
Perfect.
All right,
Does Council Healy agree to that?
Agreed.
okay, very good. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700.
And there are no
Thank you.
minutes.
All right, there's no minutes, there's no press here this evening, there's no public here this evening. Comments from the council?
Wow.
There's no comments from the council.
I wonder what time it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make this very quick. I want to publicly thank the administrators at Merrimack High School. I want to thank the police department and anybody and everybody else that was involved with the lockdown that occurred this morning. What potentially could have been a very situation turned out to be a very bad false alarm, very severe false alarm is how I want to phrase it. In light of the information that I do know, I do want to extend my thoughts and my prayers not only to that student who made the threat, but the family as well, because that's a very serious situation that they're now going to have to endure. And I certainly hope that they're able to get the appropriate counseling that they need to be able to remedy that particular situation. The reason why I say that is just, again, bringing up mental health issues that occur in our community. It's just a reminder that if somebody's got a situation going on in their life, that whether you're 10 or 90, it doesn't matter, that there are resources in town and outside of town for people to reach out to. So I certainly hope that those people that need somebody to talk to will reach out and find the help that they need. But again, I do want to thank the administrators, the teachers, the faculty of Merrimack High School, and obviously the police department for their professionalism in resolving the situation today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Peter?
Just a quick note, on Saturday, members of the Conservation Commission, including myself, will be attending their state forum in Pembroke. And as a new member of the Conservation Commission, myself and 2 other members will be taking a How to Be an Effective Conservation Commissioner seminar, as well as other members will be taking other seminar courses. This happens annually, so hopefully come back and I'll be a more effective Conservation Commissioner.
Tom, thank you, Peter.
So also Saturday, but not to outdo Peter, Merrimack High School football has their quarterfinal game at 1 o'clock against National North.
Very good.
So-
Thank you, Tom.
Go Tom, I'm on.
Anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Boyd, second by Tom Thornton. Any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 700. Thank you.